You know the vibes. Usually it's a bit more
Oh,
exciting than that,
whoa, whoa,
but
whoa, 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 hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
mm.
hold on,
BJ,
hold
hit him
on,
with the
man.
intro. Hit him with the intro.
No, we 200 shows in,
I,
and that's the. Wait a minute, let's start this over, man.
man,
Hey,
listen.
hey, hey, hey.
My,
This is like a hot. I'm gonna pretend like we listening. I'm gonna pretend like we listening to Illmatic. I'm gonna pretend we listening to Criminal Minded by KRS-One. I'm gonna pretend we listening to Paid in Full by Eric B and Rakim. You don't skip none of these songs, Mo. You hit the rewind button because you say, "Yo, I gotta hear that again." Now, Mo, this is 200 plus, baby, and tomorrow is gonna be another one. Now, Mo, hit the intro and let's get it.
my voice is on about
Sorry,
1% left. I'm gonna have a sip of my drink and I'm gonna try to hit it. But if I hit this intro, then lose my voice, you got to do the whole show by itself. You know that, right? I got about 1% battery left in my voice. 1 second. You know the vibes.
No, now you're talking. Now let's start the show. Let's start the show now.
If you knew how much energy that took, you know, Michael Jordan had his flu game. This is my flu podcast. Oh, excuse me. Okay, promise not to cough again during the show. Well, BJ and I taped a few hours ago and not much has happened since then. So I figured now that we're over 200 deep, it's good to go back to some of those questions that you guys sent in that we didn't get a chance to answer on episode 200 because we spent the whole episode arguing about just one question. BJ, you ready to dive into some of these?
Mo, I stay ready.
Well, this is the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K23. So our first question comes in from J4177, a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. And he says, it might be tough for BJ to answer this as I know the connection between him and JaVale. So don't worry if he can't. But what has been JaVale's main problem so far with Dallas? Is Luka at fault? Because Luka's been putting up crazy numbers. The Dallas Mavericks have been winning games here and there. Right. But as a team unit, things aren't really clicking. And JaVale, the starting center for a lot of those games, you'd see him play like 3 minutes, 9 minutes, and then not really come back into the game. And then you saw games where he was dropped out the starting lineup and Dwight Powell's put back in. What's going on over there?
Oh, man, great question. Well, it is, here, Mo, unlike other places, we got to tell it like it is.
Facts.
And we got to tell it like it is. So we can't dodge any of that. Great question. And thank you for asking the question. What I think is going on. First, I think it takes time to develop chemistry. You got to develop rhythm. You got to develop things that you need to develop. This is a new team from a year ago with Dallas. They lost a very
their second option. Their second option last year.
In the kid in Jalen Brunson. And I think that they lost him. Now, let's look at the NBA and the way you play. We have this thing now, Mo, where if you watch the NBA like you and I do, all 30 teams in the league are basically doing the same thing on the offensive end. You have 5 out. All right. It's literally an open offense because you want to take advantage of the following. You want guys to shoot threes. You want guys to be able to drive all the way to the basket. And then when you do beat your guy and there is help, you want to kick to the corners. All right. The most coveted shot outside of the layup in the NBA are corner threes. Now, with the exception of Joel Embiid and Jokic, maybe Sabonis a little bit now, I don't know if there is any other players that's really getting touches on the post.
I know one.
Who's this?
Luka Doncic. They've increased his post-ups by a significant amount this year.
Okay. Now, which is terrific. When you play the game with an open space, so Luka can drive, Luka can go. Luka basically, he is without question probably the most talented offensive player in the league. I mean, when you say a guy who can get to the mid-range and score, he can score from 3 and he can get to the basket, play from the post. He can do it all. Play isolation, play screen roll. He can do it all. Now you got to open up the game. And right now, when you do have a center like a JaVale, The only place that a center can go, a true center, not a stretch center, not like what you're seeing with Brook Lopez. Or now you see with Lauri Markkanen, who's stretching as a 5. When you have a 5, you got to put him in the dunker spot.
Mm-hmm.
You got to screen and dive him. You don't screen and pop him. You screen and dive him. But when you dive him,
pick and roll for you guys at home.
Yeah, when you dive him off the screen and roll, okay, now that clogs up the middle, so no one can basically drive to the basket now. Because where's that big going to go? So I think what is going on as I watch the team, and I watch these teams now, is you got to make an adjustment on how you play with bigs. Now, one of the most unique teams in the league as far as playing with bigs who run the same offense, but if there's any type of switch, they actually dump it into their big, and that's the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns will dive, and if you do switch the 1-man and the 5-man, like many teams do now, everyone switches 1 through 5. They seal in the big, they seal in the basket, and they throw it right into it, whether that's DeAndre Ayton, Bismack Biyombo, and last year JaVale McGee.
And the Suns, they like to run a lot of Spain pick and roll. So instead of just a simple screen and roll, they have a player that comes and screens for the big man as he's rolling to the hoop. So
Absolutely.
Even if the team manages to navigate the switch, they then throw another wrinkle in there to make the defenders have to make another decision.
They screen the screener.
Yeah, they screen the screener. Before you carry on, BJ, I'm going to hit you with this. Of all players in the NBA who are averaging more than 4 post-ups per game, here's the list. Jokic, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, Zion Williamson, Yusuf Nurkic, who we forgot to mention, and Joel Embiid. Of all of those guys, Luka is averaging the most points per possession on those post-ups. He's getting to the free throw line the most times on those post-ups, and he's turning the ball over the least amount of times on those post-ups. So Luka is doing a great job in those post-ups. How's that affecting JaVale's game, as you're alluding to? With
there's no space for him to go. Where does he go?
There we go.
So if Luka is passing and diving to the post, right, which is great for your best player, you want to give your best player as many touches as you can below the free throw line with a live dribble. That's a solid offensive concept. However, where does your big go if your point guard is in the post? He's in the post more than anybody in the league. I mean, I didn't know that stat, but you can see that the spacing is messed up. So at some point here, they're going to have to figure out the spacing on the floor to incorporate that, because if you're going to have Luka, and Luka is your point guard, you're going to have rim protectors at the basket. You're going to have the proper balance of perimeter play with post play. You're going to have a balance for what you're going to do on the defensive end. And I think right now, Coach Kidd and where they're playing, they're just figuring this out as they go along. Not only do they have JaVale McGee, who, in theory should be a tremendous asset for them, right? Because of his ability to block shots and play vertical basketball. They also have another kid, Christian Wood.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't seem too happy. You saw the quote I sent you earlier today.
That's what I'm saying. So you can see, look, listen, guys want to play. I don't have a problem with why. It's because I would rather have that problem, guys want to play, than guys who don't want to play. So they just have to figure this out. It's a new team. Everyone wants to play. Luka is a very unique talent in and of itself, right? Your point guard. I mean, think when you said that, I was like, here's the guy who's your point guard. He's getting the most usage in the league on the perimeter, and he's getting the most touches on the post.
He's putting up historic usage numbers.
That's what I'm saying. So, Bo, like at some point, you hear me say this, you have to have a blended brand of basketball. And now Luka, because he's so good. That's not bad offense. That's great offense.
Here's the part that I have the question. The synergy between the front office and the coaching staff. Because when the Mavericks signed JaVale in the offseason, they gave him a lot of money. And the theory behind it was great. He's going to catch a bunch of lobs. He's going to protect the rim. He's going to rebound. But now, with Jason Kidd going to Luka in the post more, clearly that isn't factoring in what the front office wanted to do by signing JaVale McGee. But I also want to say this, is it's not just a player that can block shots and dive to the rim that they signed. They've signed a player who's won a championship alongside LeBron James, a championship alongside Stephen Curry. There's not many guys in the league that you can find like that. So even though he may not be getting the minutes or he may be out of the starting lineup, what he can provide in terms of championship integrity, is that the word we're going to go with? Championship experience, especially to a player like Luka, to say to him, look, I want a championship with LeBron. This is what you have to do to be on that level. I want a championship with Steph. This is what he did. How much of a factor does that play in versus the on-court stuff?
I don't think it has a factor because Luka is not the same player as those guys. In some regards, Luka's a better offensive player than LeBron James.
I'm not mad at that.
Okay. All right. People say, oh, well, you can't. No, Luka in the half-court offense. Okay, if you just said one-on-one basketball, Luka can get his shot off against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Luka is he one-on-one basketball. He's got a big body. He's big. He can play through contact. You can't speed him up. He can play screen roll. He can play isolation.
He will pump fake you all day until he sees the smallest advantage. If you're playing, BJ, if you're playing Luka one-on-one and you play the perfect defense, you get him to pick up his dribble, his back's to the bucket, he can't see anything. He will just pump fake and then he'll see you slightly lean to one side or he'll see you slightly go onto a tiptoes and bang, he knows he's got you. And it's a bucket.
Okay. No, that's one-on-one basketball. That's great. Now, let's get to team basketball. Mo, he has to play a brand because once you get to the playoffs, Mo, the game is going to slow down. So what's the first thing everyone tries to do in the playoffs? You try to get as many uncontested shots as you can. And what does that mean, Mo? You want to play advantage basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, in the fourth quarter, when the game slows down, Luka is fantastic. Why? Because you're going to need a player like him to create shots and create opportunities when things break down. However, if you're going to win the whole thing, you got to depend on your defense. You got to create opportunities, and you have to play advantage basketball, 5 against 4, 4 against 3, 2 against 1. And if they're going to win with a talent like Luka, Luka is going to have to incorporate his talent into the concept which every great player, every great team plays. That's just a fact. Now, when is Luka ready to see that? Maybe it's the second half of the season. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's the year after. Because you're not going to win with your best player just playing and getting the usage everywhere on the floor without getting uncontested shots. The only uncontested shots they're getting right now are the double teams that Luka's receiving and he passes it out. Mm-hmm. However, if they can get steals, block shots, get stops, get consecutive stops, now, Mo, you will see a blended brand of basketball where you'll have everyone in double figures. You'll have Luka now finishing the game, because what's the point of having a great player if they don't finish the game? You have to find ways for the team to excel, and it only excels on the other end. Okay, so immediately, Mo, if I was playing against this team, I want Luka to be in the post. You know why, Mo?
Mm-hmm.
Because that means transition defense is going to be awful. He's the point guard on the team.
Yep. He's got to sprint the full length of the court to get back. He's going to be behind the point guard.
Mo, I want him to be in the post because now that means you can't. So one of those bigs have to be out on the perimeter. That means one of the bigs probably is in the dunker spot to dive, to take the defense so he can see the shooters. And that means that their transition defense is all messed up. So, Mo, I'm okay with him doing that. Matter of fact, that plays into what I really want to do if I'm playing against him. Because I just want him to mess up the balance of the floor. So I get why Coach Kidd can't have JaVale on the floor, because now you have your 1-man and your 5-man on the baseline. You have two shooters in the corner so that he can see, and then you got one out in the slot so that he can have a bailout pass if he needed. Well, Mo, that means 4 men is on the baseline playing against a team where we're getting up and down, we're pacing space.
And even on the other way, on offense, the Dallas Mavericks are 3rd bottom in the NBA in terms of transition possessions per game.
But
getting out
because Luka doesn't play fast. So that's what I'm saying. So Mo, at some point here, Luka is going to have to relinquish some of the responsibility, because you can't win. You've heard me say this about Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is terrific. However, if you're going to win, especially in the regular season, you got to play at a certain speed. So you can see this with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka is really that good, but at some point here, Luka is going to have to relinquish something to say, if we're going to be the best version of whoever we're supposed to be, he's going to have to say, all right, Spencer Dinwiddie, you push the ball, I'll just slide off the ball. Or he's going to, Mo, this goes back to last year. I told you, I go, when we find out what's his true position, talking about Luka, then we can build a team
this combo
around.
a few times. Well,
Mo, we keep coming back to it because we're enamored with his stats. The guy puts up incredible numbers. He started the season out like 30 points a game the first 6 or 7 games of the season.
I think it was like 9, most since Will.
Yeah, whatever he did, he is that good. But he's got to figure out how to incorporate his talent around the team, not the other way around, because he's going to need, listen, I don't like throwing names around and what somebody did. I've seen this movie before, okay? This isn't a new movie for me. A guy averages 30 points a game, and he's so good, he can do anything he wants. Yeah,
we've seen it. We've seen a documentary about it too.
Movie. and Mo, at some point, that player had to figure out what part of the game he was going to delegate. What part of the game, what part of his career he said, I got to figure out how to incorporate my talent into the framework of a team. And once he did that, Mo, that guy, it worked out pretty well for him. He went on to be considered perhaps the greatest player in the game.
I've heard this speech many a times in my life.
When you have a talent like Luka, what you gonna tell him? He can't score? What you gonna tell him? He can't play from the post? What you gonna tell him? He can't play screen roll?
He does what he wants.
No, Mo, he takes more bad shots that I think than probably anybody in the league. You know what the problem is, Mo? He makes them.
Yep.
The guy makes like
he'll
step
say like
backs and
a step back 3 falling out of bounds over 3 defenders with 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Like, it's not real.
The guy is he's tough. He can finish at the basket. Mo, but at some point, whenever he's ready, he's going to have to figure that out. And Mo, he's so good. What are you going to tell him? He can't do it? And thank goodness that, I saw that guy, and when he made that decision, Mo, we became unstoppable. The teams he played for became, he just would. I've said it, Mo, I'll say it again. Luka is that good. Luka's going to have to say the following: I got to stop playing this game, and I just got to finish the game. That's his job. Fourth quarter is Luka time.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, give him all of the touches. The first 3 quarters, Luka's got to figure out how to get everybody involved, get this guy going, get JaVale 10, 15 points, get this guy Woods 10, 15, 20 points, Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., get all those guys going. And then when it comes to winning time, is there any doubt in the last?
I was just going to say, we see so many games where Luka will have 30, someone else will have 20, and then everyone else will have like 4 or 5. It's not balanced. I've seen games this year where he's had 2 starters who didn't score.
2 starters. How can you not score playing with Luka Doncic? Clearly, you're not the first or second option in the offense. Clearly, the other team isn't saying, they're looking all at Luka. how could you not score playing with Luka if what I'm saying is not for real?
Mhm.
And he's so good, you can't say anything to him right now.
Mhm.
I think because the guy is probably, I don't know what he's shooting, because I don't get into the stats, but he's shooting a high percentage, I bet.
Let's have a look.
So, yeah, I mean, what is he
Well,
shooting from the
he's
field?
shooting 50% from the field. He's shooting a horrible
That's
29% from three, though.
yeah.
And
Well, he shoots a lot of shot clock threes. So.
yeah, I was going to say the other thing as well is he's shooting 8 threes a game, but also his free throw rate is suffering. He's only at 76% from the line, but I think that's because he's so tired from doing so much on offense all of the time. He doesn't have the legs for 3-pointers, and when he comes to the line, he's exhausted.
I just think Mo right now he's got to figure it out. Like every player has to figure out what they can do. I mean, this is a phenomenal problem to have, right? I remember, when you're playing with a great player, okay, and he's truly a great player. It takes time. It takes time. You know what I mean? Like, when you watch somebody average 37 points a night, Mo, okay, 37 points a night with hand checking, okay, Mo, 37 a night. This guy was doing,
and that's in an era with a pace of the game that was much today. That would have been 45.
That's what I'm saying. Mo would have probably been more because he wasn't shooting threes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mo,
we can add 10 points on free throws alone off the hand check.
That's what I'm saying. Mo, you can add 10 points at a minimum. Why? Because of the pace of the game. He's averaging 37, and we weren't playing this pace. He averaged 37. He wasn't shooting threes. He gonna hit a couple threes. Just say he hit 2 threes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he hit 2 threes. That's 6 points.
That's 6.
The pace of the game, that's at least
transition
18 to 20 more possessions. 18 to 20 more possessions with the best athlete in the league. Okay, that's at least 6 to 8 points. So Mo, that's 14 points right there.
Mm-mm.
Mo, and I'm not even talking about is he hot or not. Mo, I'm not saying the guy got hot. What if he makes 3 or 4 threes?
No, it's silly. It'd be 50 points on a regular basis.
This is what I'm saying, Mo. So now, but Luka right now, which is a great question, he's got to figure this out. This is a lot for these kids to be coming in. This isn't just like, well, he gets his numbers and everybody. No, you got to figure this all out. And I would love to see Luka play faster. I would love to see Luka get off the ball a little bit. I would love to see that. I would love to see him be a decoy, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I remember when he went from 37 to 32, that was a big thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but all of a sudden now, those 5 or 6 points that he was getting, okay, now those points was going to Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant, John Paxson. Think about that. B.J. Armstrong got a few of those. Now we're going to give the big fella, Bill Cartwright, a few touches. That's a big thing. And then all of a sudden, when we needed him to be Jordan, when we need Luka to be Luka, hey, and as a lead guard, I can say this. And I know Coach Kidd knows this. Why do I know? Because Coach Kidd was one of the great point guards of all time. When you are playing that position, you got to know how to manage a game. And I think I've told this story before, Mo. One time I gave the ball to Jordan, and he had it going. Mo, it's like the first or second quarter. He had it going. Mo, he had one of those 14, 16-point quarters going. I gave it to him, and instead of running the play, Mo, I just held out because I was like, he's hot. He had a mismatch.
Beat the hot hand. Of course he did.
Okay, he scores. Boom. He's cooking. You know how you get that look, that run when you're cooking, Mo? He runs back, he cooking like, oh, it's gonna be one of them nights.
The basket feels 2 miles big.
Yeah, Mo. So in the game, we got a great rhythm, we got a great flow. The other team calls a timeout. We run back down the court, they dribble the ball past half court, they call a timeout. Phil Jackson meets me at half court and starts wailing into me. I mean, Mo, we're up like 10, 12 points. The game is going smooth. Mo, we're on the road. Everything is good. Mo, you would think I just came down and looked everybody off and just jacked up a three. You would think that's what I did. Mo, he meets me at half court, Mo, and he called me everything except BJ. And his first words, it's not time to let him go in isolation yet.
Yeah.
Force him to play with the rest of the team in the first quarter, second. We gonna get to that if we need that. Don't go to it now.
Yeah, because you have to factor in being one of the other four guys on the court. You're just running up and down doing cardio otherwise.
And Mo, I'll never forget. I mean, Mo, he laid into me. Mo, he met me at half court. He called me he walked me to my seat on the bench. He walked me. Mo, you know how the coaches would get in the huddle and then they get in the huddle and they start, they figure out what they're gonna play. Mo, the timeout was, let me just go at BJ. He didn't say nothing to anybody else. And I'll never forget, after the timeout, I was like, what is he like, man? I was like, I ran the offense. I did what we had to do. We scored. We're up. Everything is going good. And he just, Mo, I'm telling you. And I'll never forget, we walk out of the huddle after the buzzer goes off. And MJ comes up to me and goes, my bad.
I respect it.
And I thought, and Mo, I got it. It just took Michael to say my bad. Because, when you playing out there with your guys, Mo, you know when somebody feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You know when there's a matchup. You gonna go to the mismatch. Mm-hmm. Oh, a little on this guy. Oh, we're gonna play. Mo, he came up to and said, that's my bad. And Mo, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And Luka hasn't had his moment yet. He's still young. He's still figuring out. It's like he got a car and he's still exploring with it. He got a Ferrari now. He just got a Ferrari. He's still trying to figure out what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay came up to me. He said, that's my bad. That's the type of vet I had, because he knew a young guard was struggling. I didn't understand what was going on in that moment. And Mo, and when I look at the Dallas Mavericks, that's why I was so excited about that question. He just doesn't understand yet. He don't understand.
He'll get there. I got no doubt that he'll get there.
Oh, absolutely, he'll get there. You know what? You know why he'll get there, Mo? He understands the game at an elite level. You can tell you're watching him play. So I got to let him get there. And when he gets there, Mo, oh man, you think the league is in trouble now? Wait till he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, while he's throwing the party, he's inviting people to the party now. See, right now he's just throwing the party and he's the show. But when he starts inviting people to the party, coming in and going, hey, I got to get this guy going. I got to get to it. Like when you're a great player, man, you can manipulate the game. You can manipulate matchups. Like I watched Michael and Bird and Magic. They would do things like, I'm just going to come off the screen because I know you're going to double and I'm going to take the double team with me so that you guys can play mismatch basketball. Advantage basketball.
Mm-hmm.
When Luka starts doing stuff like that, Mo, it's over. Because you can't guard him. He's literally unguardable with one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's unguardable.
He's pretty much unguardable with two guys sometimes.
Mo, this is what I'm saying. When he starts manipulating the game to that level, because he has the talent to do it, it's a wrap. Mm-hmm. Mo, it's over. This league, why? Because you can't guard him. You can't say we're just gonna guard him one-on-one. Because he can operate from every place on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're talking about the Dallas Mavericks picking up their pace. Their pace has got slower and slower over the past 4 years. It's gone from 99.32. So the pace is calculated by how many possessions a team has in a game of basketball. And it's gone from 99 down to 94.9 now. So that the Mavericks actually playing at a slower pace by each season that goes along. So you think by them speeding up the pace, that's going to turn them from a team that gets to the second round, maybe the conference finals, to a legitimate team, because they'll still retain the ability to play like this in the half court because of Luka Doncic.
Luka, there is no okay. You got Luka Doncic on your team. You got to need play. Is there any doubt what you're going to do?
Nope.
Okay. All you got to do is get the ball to this guy. He doesn't need a screen. Mo, I just need to give him the proper space.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a guy, Mo, that I know is clutch. I have a guy that I know that can shoulder the responsibility on the offensive end of being a perfect player down the stretch of a game. He's no different between him and Kobe Bryant and Jordan and all those guys. He can score that basketball. Now, he may not be able to do the things on the defensive end, but offensively, Mo, he can score that basketball now.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind that I can put him in the post, screen roll, isolation, pinch post. As long as anywhere in the half court, the man is elite. So that's not my concern. My concern is, how do I keep the defense honest? Because he's playing sometime, Mo, and the other guys aren't involved. And they're still managing to win games. Now, they had a bad loss last night against Denver. Now, I didn't think that was a good loss for them last night. That wasn't a good loss.
Especially with so many players missing from the Denver Nuggets.
Exactly. That wasn't a good loss. However, Mo, they are right there in the thick of things, and they're still figuring it out. And I think
they were a Luka three-pointer away from winning it as well.
Yeah.
And he knocks down that three at the end, they win the game.
Yeah. Exactly. Coach Kidd, matter of fact, speaking of three, did you see that three that kid hit? That
Which
one
one?
kid, that was the one kid, it was at the end of the third quarter or something. Luka steps out. It was kind of a weird.
Okay,
yeah,
so let me tell you why it was so weird, is because Luka actually hit a three at the buzzer going into halftime, but they reviewed it during halftime. I believe it was halftime or third quarter, halftime. And they reviewed it, and his foot was actually on the line. So they came out for the second half, but they put 2 seconds on the clock to play of the first half. And instead of just holding the ball, Vlatko Kankar, who I believe is also Slovenian. Let me double check that. I believe he is from, he's Slovenian as well. He's from the same place as Luka. Just catches the ball at her halfway line and drains the three. That was great to see. It was also interesting to see there was a possession where Bones Highland was just going ISO against Dallas. So for the Nuggets, Bones Highland was going ISO, end up missing or turning the ball over. And Luka is screaming to the opponent player that he needs to pass the ball to Vlatko Kankar, his fellow countryman. He's like, there, pass the ball, man, pass the ball. He's coaching the other team. It was funny to me. I don't know if he's coaching or he just wants to get his countryman involved. But BJ, we keep answering these questions and we keep going in for 30 minutes on the one question. You know what I'm saying? I remember when we first started this show.
Well, that was a great question. That was a great question.
When we first started this show, we used to do like 2 minutes per question. But now I'm quite enjoying the deep dives and the details. So we're going to have to end that one there, and we're going to be back tomorrow with some more. So you guys don't go anywhere. There were some serious gems dropped in that podcast by Mr. BJ Armstrong. That's a big comparison, Luka and Michael Jordan, and those Michael Jordan stories are always a delight to hear. So make sure you subscribe and leave a review in the Apple Podcast app, because it helps us rise up the charts. It helps support this show. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you subscribe, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast from. Hoop Dreams Podcast, live in full effect. BJ, appreciate you as always, sir. And until next time, like Luka or Jordan or BJ Armstrong, get buckets.